Leanne has worked harder for you than anybody else that I know of in the state that I get to work with. Actually, she had gotten it all the way up to the stage where they were going to do at least some kind of payment this year. That everybody wants the cost of living, but in reality, you can't do that until we get some serious money because it is so expensive. I'm still paying cost of living raises that were passed when I got here in 1973. So you have to understand the magnitude of it. It was like $50 million when I came here was your payroll. Now it's almost $3 billion a year. So the numbers are huge because it was intended to go that way. It grows. But I was thinking of what I wanted to say to you yesterday and today, and so I scribbled down a few notes this morning because I said, well, I'm not sure I know what they want me to say, but let me say what's on my mind. I thought maybe you'd get a kick out of saying, okay, where's that squirrely little brain, where's it at right now? And my little squirrely brain is really on three different subjects. One is the international situation, one is the national situation, and lastly is Alabama. But I say these three different subjects to you because this is exactly what affects you. What I'm thinking about on a daily basis. These are the things that are going to affect your pension program. These are the things that are going to affect your insurance. And it all comes down to three or four different little things. And I just want to touch on each one for 5 or 6 minutes just to make sure that you understand how big this picture is in the pension world. On the international side, we all know about Iran right now. Iran and the state of Israel are going at it. Now, whether the question, why do I look at that? Why am I interested in that? Because it affects the markets. It affects the bond market, the stock market, the interest rates, everything else. So that's why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today, so that you understand, because that's the whole basis of your pension program. It's not the money you put in. It's really not the state's money that's put in there. In a good year, 70 to 80%, it's been as high as 80% of the money will come from Wall Street. All right? A really rotten year, and we've had 4 of them, 2000, 2001, and 08 and 09. It all comes from the member and the state because we've lost billions of dollars on the stock side and the bond side. What most people don't understand about stocks and bonds is I can lose as much money in the bond market as I can in the stock market. My mother always thought that she could buy a government bond that was safe. Well, you got to understand that if interest rates double, your bond is worth 50 cents on the dollar. So you can lose a lot of money in any market. You could lose it in the commodities, you can lose it in whatever we're in, and we're into everything. We're into 27 different countries of the world. So this is what's in my brain on a daily basis. So Iran now is a hot spot. It sort of cooled down for a while. Now it's heating up again. And when you take out somebody's nuclear energy in their home country, you know that they're going to retaliate. So something's going to happen there. Will it sort of settle down? Maybe yes, maybe no. On the other hand, with a new president and a different president than we had, both Putin in Russia and Xi in China are two very unusual leaders. You and I have not seen that in our lifetime except for and I was a baby with Hitler or Mussolini, where somebody takes over and they change all the rules and they stay there. And that's what both of those guys have done. They've changed all the rules in Russia as well as China to say, I'm in charge for as long as I want to be in charge. That's interesting, but it's also very scary because all of a sudden now you got dynamics in the international world that's a lot different than we've had in the past, so people don't know how to react. And if you think of the two, they used to be enemies. In fact, 30 years ago, China didn't like Russia, Russia didn't like China. Now you got two guys that got in the same position as I would call a onesie or a kingship, and they both don't like the West, meaning Europe and meaning us. So you have those dynamics there now. And they're doing anything that they want to do to test, because now I got a buddy over here. You know, I might jab the United States, the richest country in the world. Oh, but now I got Putin or I got Xi on this side, and they're jabbing us too. So there's going to be a test over the immediate future of who is running the world. That's what's going to happen. And so all of that's going to be tuned into the markets. It's going to be tuned into everything. Then you have a few little nuts around here. And the nut that I had in mind there was a guy from North Korea. Because he's a wild card. You are clueless at what he's going to do because he doesn't know what he's going to do. And somebody armed with nuclear weapons is not a good guy to say, okay, I'm going to rely on him, or not think that the way they think. The hottest spot right today that I worry about is Ukraine. And you have to understand that a few years ago, when Putin went into Crimea, he's got 40,000 troops in the Crimea. But now he's stuck another 40,000 on the border. So that's why they're meeting in Europe yesterday and today with NATO and all this other stuff, because England, France, Germany, the United States has got to figure out, how do we react? Do we say, just go ahead and take it over again? Take over the entire Black Sea? Take over all of Ukraine? Because that's the frontal. That's the frontal attack right there. So that's why everybody is sort of nervous in Washington right now. Now you throw on other stuff that has never bothered us really in a long time. And that is, you have China and India rubbing shoulders each other with guns over a little valley between the two countries. But all this is all predicated upon leaders that are trying to establish their permanency, is what I would call it, the permanency of running this country, China or Russia. And so the other countries of the world, principally the democracies, whether, again, as I said, Germany, France, UK, us, the old guard, so to speak, is nervous. And that's what's going to affect the markets tremendously when you look at that. When you look at the national situation, you'd go across America right now and say, okay, what's on your mind? Well, I have a neighbor that's 91 years old, and he says, David, I just don't know about this debt this country is getting into. I said, hell, you don't have to worry about it, son. You're 91. Enjoy it. Enjoy it, okay? And so you look at him and you say, okay, what's wrong with your brain? You're a middle-class person. You live in my middle-class neighborhood. He said, wow, we worry about that. And I said, I know you're a Trumpkin, and I accept that. Okay, I've known Trump for 25 years, and he ain't a beauty. So when you look at Trumpkin, he basically said, okay, here's the same amount of money for big industry and the top 1%. Biden is doing the opposite. He's saying the average middle class needs help. And with a pandemic, he's right. I mean, you just have to understand how many people have lost their jobs.